Hello everyone, hope you're having an excellent day today. I'm doing pretty great. I am so excited to share with you this third installment of the LEGO TRON project. We've got a lot to talk about this episode, so let's dive in. First, let's take a second to respond to this great question about the landscape chunks. Hey Mark, nice video. I'm curious about the brick black border and lining it up correctly with the standard base plate. Can you touch on that technique next video? Thanks. Yes, we certainly can. Let me grab a chunk and give you guys a little bit more of a breakdown of that. Alright, so in my hands is a small piece, one of the ends of the TRON cityscape landscape, and it really consists of regular LEGO base plates with a smooth surface on the bottom, at regular intervals, kind of arranged in a grid pattern. And the bricks are built on top of black plates that have a one stud overhang all the way around the edge of each plate, each base plate. I did it that way so that you wouldn't be able to see the different colors of base plates underneath the creation. You can actually see a paper thin line underneath Rock Raiders. It's a tiny little bit of a flaw. You really can't see it unless you're looking super close, but I just wanted to completely remove that visibility in this build. Because there is a single stud space all the way around, you have two studs of space between each base plate. And thankfully that doesn't cause too many structural issues. I just have the larger plates overhang both sides and kind of connect them together. That also means that it's not the standard base plate size for each area of the mock, and it kind of helps break it up a little bit for those who know LEGO and would recognize regular base plates, gray base plates, that kind of size parameters. Hopefully that answers your question, and if you have any other questions as you're watching this, please drop them in the comments and I might respond to them specifically because I think they're interesting. Speaking of the landscape of the cityscape, we have a lot of progress in that specific area, so why don't we get a few out on the table and we can take a look at them. The first thing I did before I proceeded more with the roadway that you see in front of me is to color code all the axle connections for each specific section of the landscape. That means that it's easier for me to assemble without incorrectly aligning things. At a convention, you're trying to unpack and set up as quickly as possible so you can walk around and see all the other cool stuff that's there. So having a little bit more organization in that category really helps, I think. More importantly, I've decided on a roadway technique to use throughout the build. It's going to be basic, upright, standard LEGO building, studs up. No fancy snot or any other techniques being used. There's multiple reasons for this. First of all, it's faster to build than trying to kind of decorate and carefully integrate all that stuff in a snot LEGO building, which is studs done on top for those who aren't aware. I priced it out and it's actually a little less expensive even with all those tiles on top. It's also much lighter than if you had a bunch of bricks in there. The plates on top of an occasional brick leaves a lot more air space and still is pretty structurally strong. And with the light blue fairy lights illuminating each line along the road and the little lines between each lane, I think it looks really good. Let's turn those on and you can see what I'm talking about here. I was very happy and impressed with how well these little fairy lights did inside the roadway, and I'll be using them throughout the entire scene in the landscape. I've also decided to add another street on the left side of the creation because there was enough space and I think it makes sense within the layout itself. It also ends up creating an M shape with the streets themselves, which is kind of ironic given my name is Mark, you know, M. So the landscape is really coming along. I would say it's going faster than I was expecting, which is good. I think that's thanks to using a few simpler techniques that just happen to work quite well. But let's move on to the really big flashy stuff, the actual city buildings. So I've started working on 3 different skyscraper buildings. They all use different techniques, different pieces, and different lights. Normally I would want to finish the first one before moving on to the next, but in this case I wanted to make sure that the ideas I had in my head actually work in the physical bricks. Very much a proof of concept kind of thing. Let's start with the least finished building that I have right here, and this is where the dark secret within the mock actually is most visible, I think. But let's address that really quick. As you can see, I'm using several of these 32 by 32 clear base plates. Now you'll notice that LEGO never made any 32 by 32 clear base plates. They did, however, make the 16 by 16 size in clear, and I own a lot of them. I have a big stack right here, but in order to build the buildings the way I want to construct them with using these techniques, I would need 100 more of these And these are like $10, $15 on Bricklink as of filming this. They're also not easy to find, especially in quantity. These non-Lego base plates are much cheaper, 4 times the size. I can get them for free 1-day shipping on Amazon. They have stronger clutch and also clutch on the top and bottom, not just the top with a smooth bottom. And for all those reasons, I'm willing to make that moral sacrifice of my Lego purism in order to accomplish this project the way I want to do it. And I know this is going to bother some of the people watching this video, and I completely understand where you guys are coming from. My only consolation for you is that the non-Lego base plates will really not be visible in the finished product. They'll be deeply buried between layers of real bricks, lights. You shouldn't be able to see them at all. So hopefully, out of sight, out of mind, it won't be too bothersome to those people who know the dark secret. That massive disclaimer out of the way, we can actually talk about what I've built here. This first building I'm showing you guys is actually the third building that I started working on, and this one is kind of revolving around the technique of having both the non-Lego and Lego clear base plates have a nice smooth corner joint right there, and that way the light lines traveling throughout the building seem to wrap around it very naturally, but yet still synthetically. That particular look, that kind of corner of light, is hard to accomplish the way I'm building these buildings, because usually the corner is a very structurally sound area of the MOC, and you don't have a chance to have light shining through uninterrupted. So I think this will look cool compared to some of the other buildings that I'm working on. Otherwise, it's pretty much a regular rectangle going up into the sky. I might have some interesting things going on top of the building, like a rooftop party of some kind. So I think the citizens of Tron are mostly about that nightlife, if you know what I mean. But like I said, this is the third one I've started, and it also is the least completed. So let's get one of the other buildings out on the table here. We can look at it. This second building is very different in both style and construction. It's going for a more traditional build style with this upright building, just basic bricks. And it's very focused around these 4 light pillars on the front of the build and kind of built around the lights that will go inside of it. This building was very much inspired by this AI-generated image I found online. I thought it looked pretty cool and kind of wanted to emulate that style a little bit in Lego. It's worth noting that this build consumes parts like there's no tomorrow, so hopefully I have enough black bricks to finish it, because it's a parts-heavy, very dense building to construct. This final tower is the most complete one that I have so far. It's also the first one I started building. It's very focused around this angular triangle footprint. On the 3 sides of this building, you have these tall lines of light, also kind of emulating that angular triangle style. It's already pretty tall, but I'm planning on making it much taller. You can imagine this chunk duplicated, but then reduced by half, and then put on top. That's what it'll look like. So it'll kind of do a stair step upwards. And then antennas on top of that, hoping to have it at least 4 feet tall, maybe a little more towards 5. And that should be the tallest building in the entire scene. I'm hoping to have it done sooner rather than later to kind of set the bar, and everything else can kind of fit underneath that size. Still a lot more to do though, so hopefully I can sort more pieces, get more pieces added to all these different areas of the build, and proceed on schedule for our first convention, which is going to be in May in Jacksonville. That's about all the time we have for Tron Progress today. Thank you so much for watching this video. It really means a lot to me. Don't forget to leave a like before you go, and if you have any questions about the build so far, please leave a comment down below and it might even get featured in the next video. If you haven't already, consider subscribing and hitting that bell. It lets you know whenever more Tron is available to watch. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.